Vladimir Putin has been the president of Russia for over 23 years now. Technically, he took a sabbatical from 2008 to 2012, letting Dmitry Medvedev become the president of Russia, and Putin became the prime minister. But even in those years, we all know that Vladimir Putin was really the person who was running the show. He was the boss. So he's been running Russia for 23 years for now. And according to new Russian constitution, he can continue if elected, of course. But, I mean, who are we kidding? So he can go on being the president of Russia for 12 more years until 2036. For 12 more years, starting next year, 2024. Despite all that, I, Konstantin, the host of Inside Russia, I assert that Vladimir Putin will not make to Russia's next presidential elections. What I cannot forecast is how, when, and where to Vladimir Putin will depart. It can happen very soon, or it can happen later in the year, or it can even happen beginning of the next year. It can be a secretly forced resignation, coup d'etat, or Ukrainian victory. It can be Russian generals, or Russian people, or his close friends. I don't know these things. I also don't know where Vladimir the Weak will depart to. Hiding, exile, Russian court, international court in Hague, or to the afterlife to answer to the Almighty for all his deeds. What I claim is that Vladimir Putin will not be the president of Russia soon. In this live stream, I will explain what makes me so sure of that. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. You find here logic, truth, and common sense, and some emotions, because I'm a human being. You will not find here propaganda, BS, or lies. In order to understand when Putin will be out of the door and why he will be out of the door, we need to understand how Russian state works and what is Russian state after all. I have already explained in some streams, but today I would like to dig deeper to explain in more details how these things work. So, I answered two questions. So, what is Russian state, who it consists of, and, what people, and how it works. First, who Russian state consists of? What groups? What clans? What elites? We hear all the time, the elites. Who are the elites? Let's get into this thing in details. I'll try to keep it very simple as I can, but gosh, that is a complicated issue. Well, before we dive in, I want you to close your eyes and imagine Russia as a pyramid. Russian state is a pyramid. On top, there is the Tsar, who possesses absolute power and makes decisions that regulate lives of everyone in Russia. There is supposedly the system of political checks and balances in Russia, and supposedly this constitution, all the attributes of democratic society, democratic country. But in reality, in Russia, these institutions, democratic institutions, are simply on paper. They don't work. There's absolute power consolidated in the hands of one person. And that person is Vladimir Putin. So, on the top of pyramid, there's the Tsar, the king, the ruler, the supreme leader. Now, try to divide this pyramid horizontally into two parts, two large parts, the upper part and the lower part. The upper part is smaller and the lower part is bigger. The upper part is everyone who consists or is connected to the Russian state, to the government. Nomenclatura, the oligarchs, and siloviki. Nomenclatura, or I think the best English word for that is nomenclature. It's fairly easy to explain. Nomenclature is basically bureaucracy. This is the social class that consists of people holding important political, administrative, or managerial positions who have obtained their positions undemocratically, or basically were appointed to the positions by the ruler, the supreme leader. I call nomenclatura, basically, I call it the entire Russian government. All who works at Russian ministries, from the minister to the very smallest clerk, federal bureaucrats, provincial bureaucrats, everyone who works for and gets paid by the government is nomenclatura, or the bureaucracy. This is one part of the pyramid, upper part. Then there's another part. There are Russian oligarchs. They're basically Putin's friends, partners, and associates. Most of them are Putin's wallets, or they acting as Putin's wallets. They are the richest Russians, and there are very few of them, not too many at all. On the contrary, there are tens of millions of bureaucrats. And the third part of the upper part of the pyramid, there are siloviki. Siloviki in Russian literally means those with power. Those with power. Siloviki. When in Russia they say siloviki, they mean government agencies who are authorized and capable to use force against Russian civilians. So who are they? Let's just get down to the bottom of it. The government agencies. Which agencies? KGB, FSB is obviously Russia's strongest agency. And after all, Putin is one of them. Then there are police, Rosguardia, the Russian National Guards, the armed forces, the Russian army, the Federal Security Service, Russian Secret Service, or the Praetorians, the Ministry of Justice, the Federal Bailiff Service, the penitentiary, the Penitentiary Service, the Federal Customs Service, the Attorney General Prosecutor's Office, and the Investigative Committee. There are others, but they're not as significant as these ones that I just named you. There are millions of siloviki, and they are very powerful force. That, again, is the top part of the pyramid. Nomenclatura, the bureaucrats, oligarchs, the richest Russians, Putin's friends and associates, and siloviki, those who are authorized and capable to use force against Russian civilians. And the bottom of the pyramid, there are regular people. The brainwashed, the weak, the abused, the rightless. Russia's very small and ever-shrinking middle class, lower class, and those who live in poverty. There are around 100 million Russians at the bottom of the pyramid. Well, now we know what people consist of Russian state. A Russian state consists of what people? Let's take a look how it works. It's actually fairly simple. Again, imagine the pyramid. From the very top, there are branches growing down. There are many branches. There are dozens and dozens of branches. And those branches are of two colors, green and red. That's it. Green and red. The green ones are nomenclatura, bureaucrats. And the red ones, siloviki, those with power. For example, Internal Revenue Service, Russian tax agency. They aren't authorized to use physical force against Russian people. So they're bureaucrats. The head of the tax service is under the prime minister, who executes Putin's direct orders. The prime minister, I mean. And the head of tax service executes prime minister's orders. So the tax service branch, grows from the very top to the very bottom. Let's say it starts in the Russian government. There's a Ministry of Tax, there's tax service, okay? And there's a head of it, there are his deputies, and it goes all the way to Russian provinces. There are offices, provincial office in the capital of the province. And then it grows down, even further down, to Russian rayoni, the counties. There's tax service in every county, and there's head of service of every county, and then it goes down to city, village, and right into the Russian people pockets. Plain and simple, that's the vertical. Another example, KGB. Same kind of branch, but it's the red color. It's authorized to use physical force against citizens. It's siloviki. The quintessence of siloviki. The structure is the same, though. The branch grows from the very top. There's the head of KGB, and he takes direct orders from Vladimir Putin. And the branch grows all the way to the bottom, to every Russian citizen. There are offices of KGB, the federal office, the provincial offices, the counties, the rayoni, the cities, the villages, towns, and so forth. So, plain and simple. And this system is called the vertical of power. Now you understand why it is vertical. The orders come from the very top and they travel all the way to the bottom. You all understand that there is no democracy here. Not even close, but the absolute power of the very few people, the rulers of Russia, with one supreme leader on top of them. The most important conditions of existence of this state system of governing Russia is its firmness. It has to be rigid and ruthless and firm. Whew. You see, siloviki, those with power, they aren't called siloviki for nothing. They are those with power, after all. Their power is given to them by the supreme ruler, and it can be taken away from them at any moment by the supreme ruler, because he makes all the decisions, remember? All orders must be executed to the last letter, to the full stop, to the comma. And as the supreme ruler orders, everything must be done in the very same way. One step right or one step left is absolutely unacceptable. Moreover, it's dangerous for those who making the steps, making the mistakes. The power is given to execute supreme leader's orders, no more, no less. It's not their power to use for some kind of reasons. It's the supreme leader's power. And he trusts that those siloviki with the power to be used as he orders. And they are not to break his trust. In exchange, siloviki get all kinds of bonuses. He pays them well. Most likely money bonuses, They have high salaries. Most of them are above the law. They enjoy the benefits other Russians don't enjoy. That's a simple contract between the supreme leader and everyone who joins siloviki. At the time they sign, they put their signature on the contract, they sell their souls. And if siloviki or bureaucrats, it doesn't matter. If any branch of vertical of power disobeys the order or don't execute the order as it was ordered, they must be punished harshly. Those who disobey their orders are usually fired, imprisoned, and some accidentally fall out of their windows, depending on the capacity of their guilt. For example, hey, let's talk what happens in reality in Russia. I'm just giving you theory. Now I'm gonna tell you the real situation. Imaginary, but real, possibly real. An active group of older retired Russians in a big city somewhere, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Rostov, they're not happy with the 5-year increase of retirement age. As you know, there was a 5-year increase in the age of retirement, just like that. Putin promised it would never happen a long time ago, and they just ordered that, men would retire at 60 before, now 65. They must work 5 more years. Same for women, 55, now 60. So let's say there's a group of older folks who are not happy with that. And you know what? They decide to peacefully protest. They have a right by the Constitutional Russian Federation to be heard, to stand up. They're the taxpayers. They're the voters. Hey, they don't like something the government does. That's perfectly normal, right? But there's a general order from the supreme ruler. No protests must happen in Russia. No protests whatsoever. So Rosgvardia, the National Guards, are thrown to disperse the protesters, the old folks, the retirees. They are to use brutal force against the protesters, who happen to be old people trying to exercise their constitutional right. So Rosgvardia consists of young men in their 20s and in their 30s. They are sent to beat up and arrest those older folks who could be their mothers and fathers. And they execute the order well. The protesters dispersed with brutal force, so no one else has any ideas to protest anymore. And Rosgvardia, those young folks, they will be rewarded with, most likely, money bonuses. But if they refuse to move against the protesters, if they say no, they will be punished. Most likely, they will be fired. Many would be placed under investigations, and some might even get prison terms. Can be different reasons, not necessarily you don't have to break a law to land yourself in prison in Russia. Another example, Russian courts. Judges sentence all who call this war. The judges aren't stupid. They know exactly what's going on, but they're given a firm order to sentence citizens to certain punishment, whoever calls this war, okay? If they disobey, if the judges disobey, they will be punished themselves. They will simply get fired, investigated, perhaps thrown to prison themselves. But I think for judges, just to be fired is a punishment big enough that just makes them absolutely scared and feared of that. So, who knows what can happen to them. 2 examples. I think you get the picture. So Vladimir Putin stands firm for as long as everyone executes his orders. Does not think about them, does not question them, does not comment them, does not give feedback about these orders, but the one simple function to execute Putin's orders. For as long as branches of the government execute his orders exactly as they are told, he is in power. He is safe. He is solid. He is firm. And the key component for existing Putin's vertical power right here he must be feared. He must be somewhat respected. And his orders must be executed. Hey, he is the one who designed this vertical of power, after all, you know. He started designing it in 2004, I believe. Yeah. Well, let's, for a change, I'll sip this tea for now. Let's imagine, unimaginable. Let's imagine unimaginable happens. One of the branches revolts. Possible? Well, anything is possible, right? For example, let's take the same Rosguardia. A few commanders get together and refuse to move against the older folks. They refuse to beat them up and arrest. They say, hey, these folks, they're right. They have a constitutional right to express their opinions, and, you know, we're not going to beat them up and arrest them for just simply peacefully protesting. They could be our mothers or fathers, for goodness sake. Instead, a few commanders get together and they declare that something rotten in the kingdom of Denmark, and they, for example, declare a march of justice. Yeah, they started doing the march of justice. Yeah, like that never happened in Russia, you know. And let's say they start moving to Moscow seeking justice. Possible? Yeah, possible, of course. They have power. They're very well trained. Let's say 25,000 Rosguardia troops join, a few field commanders, you know. They are very well equipped. They have lethal weapons. Rosguardia soon will even have tanks. Okay? So they are siloviki. They are those with power. They are the force to be forced to respect, okay, to be worried about. They technically can do that. They can go to Moscow. They can just occupy Moscow. Prigozhin and his criminals, you know, out of prisons, they could occupy Rostov. Why not Rosguardia? But what would happen? They would get crushed. As soon as they would march, they would start their march, they would disobey the order, and they would start moving onto Moscow. They would be crushed by none other than other siloviki, other agencies, KGB, the army, everyone will be placed on emergency orders, and everyone will stand up to protect the supreme leader. With one condition only: they must know that the supreme leader is strong enough to harshly punish all the rebels and to crush the rebellion, okay? He must be strong and feared by all, absolutely by all, by the citizens, by all siloviki. Only this, that he is strong and feared by all, only this guarantees Putin that his system that he has built works. Whew. Gosh, I think that's been the most detailed explanation of how Russian state works and how vertical of power works I have given you. I have tried to put it in very simple terms and make it very... make a very simplistic explanation. I hope that you have understood everything what I said. If you have questions, if you have troubles understanding my interpretation of how Russian state works, please, in a live stream chat, ask me, and I'll be glad to clarify whatever you don't understand. Whew. Now, I have answered two questions. Who Russian state consists of, and how does it work? How does vertical power works? Now, why I am so sure that Putin is on the way out of the door? Plain and simple. This is just all common sense. Let's think about it. Let's analyze. Let's apply common sense. I invite you to come along. Now, let's take a look what happened since February of 2022 in 16 months. I will try to highlight the most important things. Vladimir Putin promised everyone, the citizens, the oligarchs, the army, the Siloviki, literally everyone, that the special military operation that he declared on Ukraine, what's really a war, it would be over in a very short time and Ukraine would fall easily without much of casualties from the Russian side. Instead, this special military operation turned into the bloodiest war with many hundreds, thousands of people killed and affected by this tragedy. Moving on. Putin promised, and he keeps on promising, that Russian economy would survive the sanctions, and the war would survive the war. Instead, the economy is tanking, inflation is skyrocketing right now, and people's living standard is falling very quickly. Moving on. Putin promised in March 2022 that there would be no mobilization and all goals that he set for Russia in Ukraine would be achieved by use of professional army only. In September, 6 months later, he ordered the mobilization. He lied. And he started mobilized Russian citizens. Moving on. Putin promised there would be not land grab, and Russia did not need any land that belongs to Ukraine. Russia didn't need any Ukrainian territories. He publicly was saying that. 7 months later, he lied again. He stole land from Ukraine. He annexed 4 Ukrainian provinces, created laws that in Russia, they make those provinces part of Russia, but only in Russia. International law does not recognize that, and it's crazy. I mean, you can't just go and steal land from other country. So, moving on. At the annexation of Ukrainian territories, Putin promised, right when this whole celebration, fake celebration was going on, he promised that these lands that Russia annexed and, that became part of Russia, according to him, Russia would never leave those lands, and it would never leave the new citizens behind. Literally, a couple weeks after that, couple weeks later, Minister of Defense ordered Russian troops to withdraw from Kherson, which according to them was a Russian city back then, Minister of Defense is directly a subordinate of Vladimir Putin, who is a commander of chief. So we can safely say that that was the order to leave Kherson by the commander of chief, approved at least. So Putin lied again. He gave up this, according to him, the new Russian lands. Moving on, Putin promised Russians and everyone in Russia to denazify Ukraine. So he caught some Ukrainians and declared them Nazis. The Azov battalion commanders, it happened in June of and July 2022. But guess what? Instead of prosecuting so-called Nazis, if they're Nazis, they gotta pay, right? No. He exchanged them. He sent them back to Ukraine through Turkey he exchanged them for his close friend. And some say that distant relative. Ukrainian oligarch Medvedchuk. First, Azov commanders went to Turkey, and now they're back in Ukraine, getting ready to get back into action. Moving on. Vladimir Putin promised that the war would never come to Russian territory. And later, there were raids, literal raids and shelling of Belgorod province, and even numerous drone attacks on Moscow, country's capital. And every time that something like that happened, Vladimir Putin would come out and say, well, he would inform through his press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, that everything is going according to the plan. Putin has lately self-isolated from Russian political life. He clearly has lost control over strongest Siloviki, and he's lost control over everything pretty much. He's nowhere to be seen. Sometimes a person who kind of who looks remotely like Putin, shows up and says something, but, we're not stupid. We understand what's going on. Everyone understands that Vladimir Putin, the supreme leader, still supreme leader, does not punish for disobeying his orders anymore. Moving on, Vladimir Putin promised that NATO will not come to Russian border, and Ukraine was the country in dispute. He was claiming that NATO wanted to expand into Ukraine, and no, of course not, because then NATO would be right at Russia's door. Well, 1 year later, Russia has gotten 2 new NATO members right at its door, Finland and Sweden. And land border with NATO has grown by over 1,000 kilometers. And the final nail, before the final, let's move on to another one. Vladimir Putin was publicly insulted dozens of times by his cook Yevgeny Prigozhin, the owner of Wagner Group, the private army. He was directly insulted by Prigozhin, suggesting that the crazy old man is out of his mind. Every time that happened, Putin swallowed the insults by publicly ignoring them, pretending that nothing happened and nothing was said. But we all heard. And it happened dozens of times. And the last final nail in Putin's coffin was Wagner's mutiny. Let me remind you, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the owner of Wagner Group, invaded Russia. He moved his Wagner private army from Ukraine into Russia without any authorization, okay? So he invaded Russia. In the process, he killed 2 border patrol officers who tried to prevent them crossing into Russia, basically murdered them. Captured Rostov-on-Don, the city that has 1 million people living in it. Captured all government agencies, including Russian Army HQ and KGB HQ in Rostov. Took hostages 2 Russia's top generals, the Deputy Prime Minister of Defense and the Deputy Chief of Staff. Publicly humiliated them in front of the entire country, in front of the entire army. And that's one of 2 top generals, 3-star generals, declared that the Wagner Group was going to march to Moscow to topple Putin. Actually marched a few kilometers, 100 kilometers from Rostov to Moscow province border, okay, in 1 day. And that's 800 kilometers, my friends. In the process, Wagner Group shot down a Russian army aircraft and killed 13 military pilots. And it ended up 200 kilometers away from the Kremlin, where the Kremlin got so scared, Putin got so scared, he actually made a deal with Prigozhin. Putin basically bought his way out of being toppled, bought his way out of mutiny. He forgave Prigozhin and entire Wagner group of everything that they have done, including killing Russian pilots and killing border patrol officers. He gave them immunity from their crimes. He gave Prigozhin truckloads of money, and he basically set them free. During the mutiny, there was lack of siloviki. No one came to help Vladimir Putin, and that was the first early bird of trouble for him. Okay, Prigozhin was moving uninterrupted. All siloviki who were supposed to stand up and fight for their supreme leader, they simply disappeared. Putin made 2 nationwide addresses on TV where he appeared scared. He was mumbling, begging for help from everyone, from the citizens of Russia, from Russian people. He clearly showed that he lost control over the situation. And this all, what I've just told you, has destroyed the myth of Putin being a strong man, being the respected leader, being the ruthless supreme leader and commander-in-chief who punishes for disobeying his orders. There are many questions right now that everyone is asking in Russia. And everyone, Russian people and, siloviki and bureaucrats and oligarchs, everyone. And the questions like, what would happen if it wasn't ЧВК Wagner, but the Chinese army? Would the Chinese army also move 800 kilometers in one day uninterrupted? Would all siloviki hide into their foxholes like they did with Wagner? Where is the stability and security and safety that Vladimir Putin has been promising for the past 23 years? Where is Russia's greatness as a superpower that he's been promising for the past 15 years? KGB, FSB, police, Rosguardia, all the siloviki, can they only harass, beat, and arrest innocent Russians when they try to protest, when they try to stand up, exercise their constitutional rights? But when there's mutiny, an enemy marching towards the capital of the country and killing Russian servicemen along the way, KGB, police, Rosguardia runs away into bushes and hide there? Why Putin granted immunity and forgave the murderers? And these are just few questions. I mean, there are many, many more. The Tsar has no clothes, and everyone is seeing it now. Putin cannot be the top, to remain be the top of the pyramid when everyone understands that he is weak. He gives orders, but he does not punish if his orders are not executed. Okay? Siloviki are brewing something. They aren't called siloviki again. They aren't called siloviki, those with power, for nothing. They are organized. They are well trained. They are well equipped. They have lethal weapons. You can consider every branch of the government of the color red, siloviki, as a private army. A private army of its chief, by the way. Whoever heads the siloviki, the head of that agency, that's his private army. I'm pretty sure that different siloviki groups are brewing different things now. They are making deals. They're negotiating how they will divide power once they install a new president. They are trying to come up with the rules of the game, of the new game, the new rules of the new game. And you know what, folks? I'm not just assuming that. There is proof. Russian 3-star very popular war general. His name is Ivan Popov. He was fired for brewing something, for speaking up the truth, for communicating with other generals just 3 days ago. Most likely, he will be arrested and placed under investigation. But let me tell you what happened. He actually came up and he spoke openly. He said that in one day, very rapidly, the command of Russian army, Russian armed forces, concocted an order, addressed that order to Minister of Defense, and basically they fired him. Let me quote this three-star general. Our army could not be penetrated from the front by servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine. Our senior chief hits us from the rear, treacherously and basically decapitating the army at the most difficult moment. That's not me. I'm quoting a three-star popular war general who's been fighting in Ukraine for the past 16 months. According to this general, a senior chief, well, obviously that's Putin, who else? According to the general, he stabbed the army in the back. Well, guess what? Way to go, Putin. You're making friends with very popular and very powerful war generals. And around a dozen generals, the rumors have it, are under investigation right now on the verge of being fired. Surovikin has never been seen since the 24th of June when the mutiny started. The rumors have it that he's arrested, under house arrest, but we don't know. He's just nowhere to be seen, and he is one of the top military commanders of Russian armed forces. And, Putin, the government, the media, the propaganda, they're just not saying anything like, he never existed. Shoigu, Gerasimov, other top generals, same thing. Where are they? Folks, I would watch the army. Because the army, out of all Siloviki, the army is the strongest, the biggest, the deadliest, and on top of that, it is very, very angry right now. So again, I cannot say how, when, and where to, but it's clear that it will happen sooner or later. There's no question about that. The only question right now, the biggest question actually is who will be the first? And it's obvious right now that the certain people are in the very big rush to get there first. My friends, thank you so much. That's been my message for today. I tried to explain you my thoughts in a very simple and very short way, but it's a very complicated message. And if you want to clarify something, I'd be glad to answer your questions in live stream chat, where I invite everyone to move to right now. And while I am turning the live stream chat on, I would love to ask you to help me out. Please help spread my message by making the reposts of this message in your social media accounts if you liked it, and hitting the like button would be nice. Subscribing to the channel would be nice. And if you'd like to buy me a coffee or become a patron to support channel a little bit, I would not mind, and actually I would like that very much. Thank you. The chat is on. So, my first two questions. How did you like the message? Did you find it easy to understand? And if you didn't understand something, I'd be glad to clarify things. Mammy K, Harry Potman, Lorna, Blackad, Bob S, Amir. Whoops, I think I'm sorry, hang on. I just opened the chat for the mods. Mods first. There you go. In case you are new here, this channel has the best mods in the world and the best usual suspects, people who come and watch me and give me a chance and converse and support me and send me good words and prayers and give me feedback. Thank you so very much. You know who they are. Well, basically, most of you here are the usual suspects. Thank you. Pentium, howdy howdy. Lorda Grape, Mr. Kaliskin, Johnny Neiman, Airborne Snail, Deacon, Frank Miller, howdy all. If you want me to notice your message easier, please put it in caps and put inside Russia after @ sign so it appears highlighted in an orange box, and it's really hard for me to miss. Just like Mr. Kaliskin did right now, saying howdy from Chicago. The vertical structure you described is similar to organized crime. Very much so. It's also very similar to corporation, any corporation. The corporate world works that way because there's no democracy in business. Thank you for supporting Mac Fun and Persona Incognita and Dean Carey. Mac Fun, how much more would ordinary Russians have to lose for them to fight for themselves? There has been a revolt in Russia. Well, which revolt? If you're talking about Wagner, it's not Russian citizens, it's Wagner. Which revolt has been in Russia already? Please specify. And how much more would ordinary Russians have to lose for them to fight for themselves? I don't know. Hard to say. You see, they were losing their sons. And they did not stand up and they didn't fight. What else can you lose besides your children? That is so valuable. Money, living standard, oh, forget that. Sons, I saw people giving up their sons by themselves. They were crying, mothers, fathers, but they were giving them to mobilization centers. So I don't know what to tell you. Persona Incognita, best wishes to you and Ukraine. Thank you so very much. Thank you for your support and for wonderful words for me in Ukraine. Taken. Thank you. Dean Carey, thank you so much for sponsoring 20 people with sponsorship. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Every Saturday I do private live streams for sponsors and patrons. Yesterday I didn't do it because I went away for, a day and a night. I filmed a lot and I'm finishing up the movie. If not today, I will upload it tomorrow for sponsors and patrons as my way of thanking for supporting me and my channel. Thank you so very much, Dean. So you just, from me and from 20 people. Deacon, thank you so much for your support. No message, but this message is pretty strong. It's heard. Caesars. Howdy, howdy. In summary, there is a bunch of fake Putins running around. Army has a floating structure. Russia has unclear borders. And the ruble is where it is. Couldn't have said better myself. Hey, would you like to co-host the streams with me? Dan Caldwell, howdy. Eileen, great informative, somewhat hopeful stream, although I'm worried who comes after the Tsar. Me too. But you know what? In Russia we say, when you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. They are trying to put someone to replace. They're just making deal on replacing Putin with someone, but we'll see how it works out. I'm pretty sure that he's gonna be out of the door. That's the only thing I am sure of. But I don't know who will come instead of him, in place of him, when, how it'll happen, what will be the results and so forth. We'll just, we pray, we hope, and here in Tashkent we do what we can. Darla, thank you so much for supporting. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. It's always great to see you, and thank you for your message. MacFun, I was referring to the Russian Revolution 1917. The Tsar was deposed. Okay, understood. I thought you meant more recent history. Thank you so much. Thank you for clarification. PMX Gaming, long time no see. Good to see you. Thank you. Do you think when Prigozhin sold hot dogs from his hot dog stand, he had some special AK-47 sauce on the side? I don't think so. He was a hardcore criminal and butthole who had spent 10 years in prison, maximum security prison. The rumors have it he's been not treated well by his inmates, if you know what I mean. And I think he was lucky to be selling hot dogs, to have any kind of a job. Will he have to sell hot dogs again? No. I'm sure he will not. That's going to be too easy for him. I think his fate is much harsher than selling hot dogs again. That would be a reward for him. Darla, I'm showing 2 super chats here. I hope you didn't make a mistake. If you did, just, email me and I'll take care of it. Crusader Damien with the best questions as usual. Pissing off your military and purging your generals does not seem like a safe bet to maintain criminal grip on the country. Sadly, I cannot wait for the Russian downfall. Look, this is exactly what I said in different words. I said, well, Putin, it's amazing how you make friends among the generals, and the generals are a mighty powerful force. If 25,000 people... Now, Crusader Damien, look, and everyone, this is what can happen. Let's say one general brave enough speaks to another one, 3 or 4 generals get together, and they have like 25,000 troops. They go in front of troops, say, hey, look what's going on, open your eyes, we've been lied to, and they just basically tell the truth to the soldiers. Let's go back and let's do the Justice March. And they start doing the Justice March, okay? The entire country will be watching. And as soon as someone would join that Justice March, that will be a domino effect. Everyone will start joining. Boom, 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 boom. And all Siloviki, all of a sudden, from being the, taking orders to Putin, they're going to be going to, speak to Putin directly, if you know what I mean. And he probably might have a few hours. And most likely he would face them. And then who knows what. Thank you again for your question, for your statement. Eileen, again. Tom W, howdy. Chirper G's in the house. Scott Nesbitt, Dave Strains, howdy. Mario, Pamela J, hello. Justeri, Mama Two Boys. Live, howdy. James Rhodes, Florina Kitty. Yuri Chan from the Netherlands, howdy. From Illinois, Blue Daisy. Roy Cousins from London. Joao Morenos, good evening. And Jorgen Kaiserling, thank you for educating the West on how this all works. I have shared the link. Jorgen, thank you so much. Is it Jorgen? Jorgen or Jorgen? I'm pretty bad with names. Although my wife is German. I'm sorry, I'm not that great with German names. Fairly simple language, but really hard to pronounce for me. So thank you again. Wanda from Portland. Allison Marlowe from Florida. Truffles from Texas. Mr. Trousers from Sussex. Sussex by the sea. The Netherwoods. Sidewalk Astronomy Netherlands. Howdy, howdy. Faith Russert, thank you so very much. Looking for the messages in caps and highlighted in orange. Dan Caldwell, thank you for your good words. Just Terry. Sam K, thank you so very much. Words like that motivate me. They give me energy to keep on going. Thank you so very much. Blessings from Florida from Maria. Thank you, Eranka. Howdy, howdy. Hola from Puerto Rico. I'm a usual suspect. Rebecca Gutierrez. Hola. John Colarafi, why don't the suppressed republics of the Russian Federation declare independence? That might happen sooner or later. That might happen. Dean Carey, thank you so much again. Eugene Lindsay, thank you so much. That's very puzzling to me. You know, you say it's so much better than anything we get here in the USA. I would assume that you get pretty good coverage of everything, you know. So I don't question your words. No way. It's just I'm a little disappointed they don't talk about that in the USA, you know. Peggy Zanner from Florida, USA. John Bullow, howdy, howdy. Dean Carey, again, so many people, sponsors, due courtesy to you. Thank you. Welcome new members. SF Joe from California, howdy, howdy. Do you think anyone in charge would turn previous leaders or others into hog for atrocities? I think there's a possibility. Would the new leader return children? I think the much would be done for that. Would be done. I'm not sure how to say it grammatically correct. So the first question is, if a new president is installed, there will be lots of changes and lots of communication with the West. Basically, there will be negotiations. And Putin might be one of the negotiation coins, so to speak. And they might send him some place, outside Russia. MacFun, thank you so much. Welcome to Inside Russia. Thank you. New sponsor, Pulaski, Virginia. Terry Carter, as usual. Howdy. Mr. Kaiserling, I'll put it this way. Hi, constant greetings from South Carolina. We are avid watchers. I'm very glad to know that. Thank you. You educate the West how Soviet Union 2.0 works. Nothing changed. Things gotten worse. I think the Soviet Union was a lighter version of what's happening now. I will forward link to many of my friends. Thank you so very much. Thank you. It was fantastic to have you here. Just Terry, thank you. You always give me compliments. Cheers to you. Martin Wallen. Hello from Sweden. Sending my love from Tashkent, from Uzbekistan all the way to Sweden. Thank you. Siba, hello Konstantin. Did Shoigu need Putin's permission to fire Popov? It wasn't Shoigu. Of course it wasn't Shoigu. I think it's either Putin or people around Putin, okay, who are... Okay, Putin might be not in the game anymore. We don't know that. Or he might be still trying to make some decisions. But I'm sure that there are people other than Putin running the investigation. And they authorized, well, actually, they didn't authorize, they ordered Shoigu, because I don't think Shoigu is in the game either. He's out, okay? He's just a figure on the, that is just being moved by the puppet master. So he was said to fire this guy, and he did. That's it. But this is my just, my thoughts. I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but it seems that way, DVI never. You hit the nail on the head, so to speak, with the idea that they are more afraid of the civilians than Wagner. Thank you so much. Thank you. Carson Larrymore, do you think a change in leadership would cause a sudden crash in the economy? Maybe why the elites are hesitating to make their move? No. No, that's completely two different things. Well, crash has already happened. It's... How do I say that? When you get you get wounded. Someone shoots at you, okay? And you're just laying on the ground, and you still understand things, but this bullet is already inside of you. You're gonna, black out in a few seconds. So this is the process right now. Russia has been hit, okay? More. Russia's shot its own foot, another foot, stomach, it's been greatly damaged. The economy is crashing, and nothing can stop from crashing now. There's no way around it. The elites are hesitating to make the move. Not really, because they didn't hesitate. They thought that the Putin was strong enough. Now they're saying it's been only 4 weeks. You wait a little bit. They're seeing that he's not strong. They're seeing that something's got to be done. They're seeing that the situation must be changed. And they're just, I think they're just like, close their eyes and see in their head how they're forgiven by the West, how they're given their money back, how the sanctions are off. And they would do anything for that, okay? And I think this is what's going to happen. As soon as he's replaced, they're going to run to the West and say, hey, what can we do? We'll do anything. And this is how it's going to go. Otherwise, the new guy will be as authoritarian as Putin, but we don't know that. Blackhead, the mod himself has just gifted sponsorship of Inside Russia to 5 people. Thank you, friend. Thank you, brother. And Jason Carney is back. Jason, thank you so much. The champion of super chatting. I really appreciate your help and support. Thank you so much from me and from my wife. Thank you. And Jason, also thank you for 5 memberships to 5 people. I really, really appreciate that. Trucker Yano, howdy friend. Not much of a question, more like a statement. I'd like to have your comment. Statement. It'll be oligarchs that will be in charge after Putin. They were the ones who lost most from Russia's perspective. No. Oligarchs by themselves are not strong to wrestle army and the KGB. That's going to be either some kind of a partnership with KGB or army, or it's going to be KGB or the army or, some other group, perhaps another private army or something like that. Or is this could be people, regular people. They will finally stand up, and it's going to be one huge wave that's just going to destroy all the government branches and like reset Russia. That is also possible, but I don't think it'll be oligarchs by themselves. They simply are not strong enough. But they are definitely a force if they add their money into the cause, if you know what I mean, their financial support. LMVG, thank you. Your usual great message today. Thank you so much. Thank you. Your support is very much appreciated, but the words are absolutely priceless. Thank you. Do you think if the army rebels, it'll pull out of... Oh, absolutely. If they rebel, they'll pull out and they'll just go to Moscow. To what extent? To the extent of the government. To the extent of seizing power. And I think that's the most possible scenario right now. That's why they're after the generals, you know. But hey, you can't crush them all. BJ Maggers, is Belarus positioning itself to be the next Russia? I don't understand the question. No, Belarus is run by a maniac, Lukashenko, and he loves power too much. He makes all the decisions. He's always in public. He likes to be the boss. He likes to show that he's the boss. You know, Putin is not like that. Putin was installed as the president of Russia, but Lukashenko seized the power himself. He loves power. You know, he was the one who was fighting others for it. You know, just completely different. Karelin. Coverage in the US is good, but not in one place and not from a Russian standpoint. What happens to Z nationalists, weaker or stronger? Thank you. Z nationalists, Z people are getting confused. They're getting weaker. They understand that they've been lied to. Some of them in panic, okay? They understand something is going terribly wrong. They don't know what some of them do, some don't, and this chaotic movement among Z people right now. That's what I gotta say. Shiva 44004, thank you for your support. What do you think about the new monetary system introduced by the BRICS? Well, it hasn't been introduced. I'm sorry. It's just talks. Smoke over the water. Couldn't that change everything? No. It will not change anything. I don't even think the new system will be introduced. Let's wait and see. Not much left. I think it's about a month. First of all, I would like to see if Putin travels himself to South Africa, because South Africans said that they'll be forced to arrest Putin and send him to the International Court. Putin already announced that he's going. He says, I'm not afraid. He said that in the past. And now I think he's very afraid, but he doesn't know what to do. So I would like to see how he gets out of that situation. Probably just like every other time, by either lying or pretending that he didn't say anything earlier. So, and then the second is, it will be interesting to see what kind of a monetary system will be introduced. Yeah, right. If anyone wants to make bets, you know, I'm ready. Mark Bramlett, howdy. Until new leader Putin will stay in power. Like I said, I don't know when that happens. I know it happens. It will happen one day, but I just don't know when. Suzanne Samuelson, thank you so much. Sending my love from Uzbekistan to Sweden. Thank you. Me too. Alvin F., me too. I hope that Russian troops will leave Ukraine as soon as possible. KG1, will Russia ever get Western style of democracy? I know none is perfect. Good question. I've asked myself hundreds of times. I don't know. I think eventually, 50 years, 100 years, but the change must come from within inside Russians, not anybody else, not the government, not outside the world. Russians gotta realize that they are the center of the universe, not the government. The government serves them. It's their money, it's their power, it's their right. They give rights to the government to represent them the best. Okay, once they realize that, then things will start improving. But until they realize, until while they think that, you know, the government is number one and their goal is to give up their life if the government asks, you know, nothing good will happen in Russia. Dave, Switzerland, welcome to Inside Russia, another sponsor. Welcome, thank you so much for joining. Shadow Realms, thank you so much for wonderful words. Russ, rock and roller. Do you think Putin will be exiled or worse? Like I said, I don't know, but I have a gut feeling that he will not be exiled. It's going to be worse. Much worse and much quick. But again, who am I to... Henrik Arbo Jensen, thank you so much. Thank you for your support with no message, but this message is strong enough. Thank you. Christina Kruse is Suravikin, not Salevikin, but Suravikin in Lubyanka. I don't think so. First of all, Lubyanka is a regular prison. Well, not prison, but a regular place where they arrest people too. They have the rumors have it, they have a special secret prison for interrogations, you know, for torture and things like that of high caliber officials. He is either under house arrest, not his house, but in someone's home, or he's in that secret prison. I think that's where he is. But again, we don't know. We haven't heard from him in 3.5 weeks. Christian, thank you so much for acknowledging the video of me leaving Russia. That's very emotional, touching video. It was hard to make and much harder to make public. Diana Smith, with the level of turnover of command in the military, it's pretty hard to work out how it's still functioning. Well, it's not functioning well, Diana. It's basically the commanders, they leave the soldiers behind with no orders, and the soldiers just... this big mess, you know. Time is up. Okie dokie. Have I missed anything? Pizza Man, howdy. George Ruberty, how soon do you see the change at the top of the pyramid coming? My bet is by the end of this year. Because when things start happening, they happen very quickly, within days. Same thing happened in 1991, 3 days, and it almost happened 1 month ago, on 24th of June, 2 days. Jean-Michel, they're negotiating the new rules. I think that's what they're doing right now. Hug in English is pronounced hey. Okay. Thank you, Steve. So they're waiting for him in the hay. Maureen M. Howdy. Long time no see. Thank you so much. Thank you for praying, and our prayers are also with you. We pray every day. Will there be... Joe's Rames, will there be a video coming from yesterday's mountains excursion? Either today, if I finish it up, I'm editing right now, or tomorrow is at the latest. They will be in place of live stream chat for sponsors and patrons. Thank you for asking. Siba, thank you so much. Black Cat, thank you again. Yes, Paul, you're absolutely right. Your correction is spot on. Oligarchs don't spend money. That's right. They invest money into, depending on the revenue for them. They're negotiating a cut for them and they're financing it. KT, I think there's no evidence that there will be a change in Russia. Otherwise, there would be a change in TV propaganda to prepare folks. Your thoughts? Thing is, it will happen like no one knows. It's being cooked up secretly. It's brewing. Like, no one knew that Wagner would actually say, hey, I'm going to topple and kill Putin and, I'm going to move it to Moscow. And he moved on to Moscow. And guess what propaganda did? It shut up. It was nowhere to be found for 2 days, for 3 days. And then after everything was settled, they started coming out and saying, we were there all the time. We were just thinking about that and stuff like that. So don't mix propaganda into this. Propaganda always works with a delay because it waits for command of what to say from the very top. And very top, it does not give orders because it's trying to save its butt. So propaganda doesn't show you anything here, Kurt, I hope it'll be fast. Will be better one come next to man with heart companion for humankind. Thank you, me too. I hope and pray for that. Compromised, I don't see how Russia could rebuild the economy. None in Europe will ever buy natural resources from Russia again, and China invests in renewable energy. What area will Russia focus on? This is my point exactly. A lot of Russians believe that, once the war is over, everything will go back to normal. Crazy! It will not go back to normal. Russia is fudged up, and it's fudged itself up, okay? You're absolutely right. Europeans will not buy, the Chinese will not buy, and sooner than later, there will be new sources of energy altogether. Russia blew it forever and ever. Well, I don't know. In terms of natural resources, it blew. It still has lots of ores, platinum, cobalt, nickel, things like that. Tons of metals, copper, you name it. But they most likely will be buying, but that cannot replace natural oil and gas. I mean, that was just a godsend to Russia. And Putin himself fudged it up. Oh my gosh. Russia could have done so much good with that money, that instead of stealing, the oligarchs taking it, Putin taking it, and they could have built so many schools, universities, infrastructure, roads, I don't know, you name it. Just crazy. No. Jean-Michel Medvedev will not be given a second chance. Medvedev is done and done and done. He's just being used as a clown. I'm not even sure if he writes his tweets himself, or somebody else, as Medvedev is being held somewhere. So he's done. What are Z people who support Eugene? Those are who support propaganda, who support the war with Ukraine. Russian troops have two letters Z and V on them, and usually if you put Z on top of on your car, on your head, it means you support Russia, you hate Ukraine, and all of that. Maureen M. Hi, not sure why my messages aren't getting across. Well, I'm seeing your messages now. Jessica Daletsky, July 26 in US, they announced CBDC central bank. Is it the interest rate? Steve Levesque, thank you so much. Perhaps you're right. Ferrari guy, no, he was drunk way before. My company worked with one of his companies, and he owned that company even in the 90s. And Fox, the top managers from his company, they used to tell us privately that they never saw Dmitry Medvedev sober, even back in the 90s. He always was drunk. So he was not, spiritually, morally crushed, probably strengthened his drinking, okay? But he started drinking way before, in the 90s. RW, thank you, friend. Thank you for sponsoring 5 people. Thank you so much. Okie dokie. Eugene Lindsay, would you be interested in seeing an Inside America channel? That's a good one. Let me keep your question without answering for now. Perhaps I will answer it one day. Folks, thank you so much for coming. Let's wrap it up. Let's pray. Today is Sunday, the end of the week. It's Monday for me. It's already past midnight, but let's finish up the prayer. This new week starts today for me, tomorrow for you. There will be messages, there will be streams as usual, there will be videos, there will be work, there will be breakfast clubs. And I am thanking you for supporting me by watching my live streams and videos, coming, supporting, liking, subscribing to the channel. Thank you so very much. The mods, the usual suspects, and just regular viewers. Thank you. Let's finish the live stream with a prayer, as usual. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this week. Thank you for giving us this weekend, this Sunday. Thank you for giving us food on our tables, putting roofs over our heads, and surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Dear Lord, please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads peaceful, and raise our children in a way that when they grow adults, they will make this world a better place, and they will make a better job caring for this world that we have done. And they will never fight with each other. For now, please keep our children safe and healthy. Dear Lord, please help Ukraine and Ukrainians. Help stop the bloodshed that's been happening in Ukraine. Reach out and touch the hearts and souls of people who are responsible and capable of making the decision. Fill their hearts with love, mercy, empathy, forgiveness, so they wake up from this lethargic sleep and they will just open their eyes and see what happens, what has happened, and they just make the decision to stop the bloodshed. Please help every single Ukrainian answer their prayers, and make their wishes come true. Send them angels to keep them away from harm's way. Dear Lord, please help my country, Russia. Assemble your heavenly army of the strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael in shining armor, and send them to earth like your avalanche, holy avalanche, to get rid of the demons that have hijacked my country. Please make it run by the angels, make it peaceful, make it loving and loved, respected and respectful. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is traveling, send them safe travels. Help everyone who is applying for asylum or looking for a refuge, send help their way. Help all single mothers who are struggling, raising their kids, trying to make the ends meet. Please send them help. Help all the Ukrainians who are suffering from the attacks of Russian missiles. God bless those who are helping Ukrainians, opening their hearts, wallets, doors, praying for them. Dear Lord, please help all the needy ones, the homeless, the jobless, the sick, the hungry, the depressed, the ones with low self-esteem, the addicted, the ones who are thinking of taking their lives. Please shine your light upon those people who need your help out of all us. Please fill their hearts with love, fill their hearts and souls with care, so they will feel better about their lives. They will stand up from their knees and they will have a chance for happy life. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to come together and pray every single day. Thank you for allowing us to congregate and just create this community. Please answer prayers and make wishes come true of everyone who is praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Dear Lord, I'd like to mention a few people who need your help, and they are Brittany S., Allison Dave Moyes, Maureen M. and her sister, Mr. Hansen, Bob, Matt, Umil and Jennifer, Ashley and family, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Lisa Cumrian, Jacob, Adam Oliver, Grace Philosophy, please send her recovery and shine your heavenly light upon her family and wonderful granddaughters. Maggie, Vladislav, Sergey, Susie Mailer, Gina, Wayfarer, EMS paramedic Liz, Karen from Maine, Lori, Miles' husband, Sherry, Layla, Philip's mother, Larry, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Svetlana, Janine, Michael Milkevitz, Marlene, Paul Beans, Richard, Mallory M., Dirk Misler, Linda, Terry, Lars Henrik and Lars Henrik's mother, Richard Burris, Angelica at Life, and Scan's family grandson, Randolph, Harry's family, Verlinda's niece, Michelin, King Nero, Gaby Hyman, Donald, Deborah, Lisa's son, Jade, Kaltenberg, Wayne, Shirley, Debbie, Jen Allen, the Highwayman, AC from the Scottish Isles, Outlander and family, David Porter and family, Choriz and family, Lars, Susan Marshall, Beulah, Teresa D., Joe and Lee McMahon, Terry Carter, Meta Spencer, Diana and her family, Bree's friend, Caroline, Albina Fell, Michael Yukon, Joel, Life, Karin Vasseur, Pamela J, Lindsay, Daniel 9, Frank in Texas, Jeffrey S. Thank you for sending them good doctors, and please send them speedy recovery. Nina, Margaret, Linda Trombley, Eugene and Lindsay's daughter, RT, Sarah Stokes, James Gintz, Janine, Yorkie Mom, Hannah, Julia Haney, Paul, Vasilin Lubamirov, Heather, Gloria Roberts, and her brother. Please send them your strength and recovery. Susie Mailer, Greg, Jim Shirley Hall, Ann Larson, her family and daughter Hannah, Delaney and two boys, Florentina, Max family, Patty L, Sherry Morin, CKOC, Brian Wilkes, Amir's uncle Dicky, Liz Dombrell and her family, Ripted, daughter of Aspen English, Ruth, Paul, Susan, Rudy Kaisley, Bip, White Lightning, Paula McDonald, George Ruberty, Dave's Trains, and Pam. I also would like to ask for a few special children. They are Cadence, Maverick, Eva, Sebastian, Theo, Madi, Coulter, Karin Vasseur's niece, and Ansley. Please send recovery and strength and happiness to their families. Also, please help all the children from Ukraine who are in trouble, who need help, who have been affected, and all children from Russia who have been affected by this tragedy. Please help all children in general who are not feeling sick. Please send them recovery and send strength to their families and parents. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so very much. Amen. My friends, thank you very much for coming again and sending your love, sending support, sending your words, and listening to my message. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're awesome and you rock. I'd love to ask you to come back for another message tomorrow. And today, before I sign off, as usual, I'm asking you to say along with me out loud as you can. Carthago delenda est.